Hey folks, so time for an update. I think the last one was a couple of weeks ago on this channel, um, because I've so there's been a lot going on in terms of my music. I've done, since I last did one of these, I don't know how many, maybe, I don't know, 6 or 7 something, performances of me playing with these beautiful machines over here, and I've learnt a lot, had a lot of frustrations, and thought it would should be good to share with you some of the things that I've learned, some of the ideas of how I've had and where I'm going. So usually on my other channel, where it's all about kind of creative process coaching and business coaching, I don't really go into the technical details, so I don't know how into the weeds I'm going to get on this stream. But what I'm probably going to do is just start with the broad picture of what's going on and what I'm doing and why I'm doing it, and then as I go along, if I kind of feel it's valuable, sort of go into more specific things about what I'm specifically doing with these Moogs and how I'm thinking about it, because it's all part of the same process. In general, I tend to avoid the technical ins and outs of it because there's already a lot of that online. But there is still some value to be had in it, particularly in how I'm thinking about the technical stuff, I think, and how that can help you. So the first thing that I really wanted to talk about was the way that I'm calling what I'm doing here albums, because I think that's really important. What we call things, how we describe what we do or what we are doing, has a has a very material impact. And hello, Philippe. Yeah, we've just finished a new class of the Leap. We're not finished a new class, finished a new intro call to the new class of the Leap. So it's just starting out. And Philippe is one of our new members of the Leap. So good to have you here, Philippe. And John is a client. So good to see you, John. So going back to the albums, I think one of the important, and Claire, great to see you. Claire is the winner of the Moog, of the grandmother. So great to see you on here as well. Yeah, so I think how we describe what we are doing to ourselves, not what we are doing to ourselves, how we describe to ourselves what we are doing has a very big impact on what we do. The language that we use to describe whatever it is that we're doing. And more than that, the language that we use to describe what we're doing to other people has an impact too. So I'm very intentionally saying I'm releasing an album a week, rather than I'm recording a live set a week and mixing and mastering it, because I literally am thinking about them as albums. Why? Why would I do this? Why not just call it a jam? The reason is that eventually, and I'm nowhere near there yet, eventually I would like to be able to make music that is as good as any album that has been assembled and kind of produced into existence over many months. Yeah, it's like this impossible goal of mine, a moonshot, if you like. I would like to be able to hit go and just play something that can stand right next to shoulder to anything, Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band or something. Now, I'm setting that goal for myself, knowing it probably will never happen, but the reason I'm setting it for myself is because it's hard, and it suggests certain things that I will do. If I say to myself, I'm just going to do a live jam every day and record it and choose the best one, that it's like I'm already doing that. It doesn't lead anywhere. It's like, well, I just, get better. Whereas if I say to myself, I am going to release an album a week, which I compose live, that has a very, very different vibe to it. And it creates an enormous amount of problems because, which is good, problems which are good, problems to solve. Because how do you do that? How do you actually, in the moment, create something that is as good, if not better, than things that have been sort of thought through and crafted into something? Yeah. So I'm going to go through the various different things I'm doing in order to solve this problem. And they're mainly really around what I'm doing with the Moogs. So I've seen on various different videos about, the mother is slightly different, right? But these two, the Subharmonicon and the DFAM, I've seen some videos, not all, but I've seen some videos on YouTube about, particularly with the Subharmonicon, about, I think, people missing the point of this machine. What these machines are, particularly these two, are discovery machines, pure and simple. I mean, you can think your way into music using them. The DFAM more so than the Subharmonicon, but where I've seen people going, well, I find it incredibly frustrating because I spend hours and hours and hours trying to make this thing sound like this, and it doesn't work. Yeah, or it kind of gets messed up, and then I've lost it forever. That is, I mean, you can do that. I mean, for sure, you can use them like that. But from my perspective, that's not what these things are. Right? These things are machines, or at least maybe it can be what they are, but it's not how they're best used. Okay, so the way that I've used them, and the reason that I got the Subharmonicon, and apart from the first time I used it when I was trying to figure out what worked, and I was just like, I couldn't understand what was going on. I had no idea. I didn't get it. So I quickly read the very short manual, got it, and then immediately from that point onwards, I was jumping up and down with joy, having the time of my life. And the reason was I understood that with particularly this, you don't have an idea in your head and then try and make it happen. That's not what it's for. You can do that, but it's hard. It's really, really hard because it's complicated, because you've got two VCOs and these two sub oscillators are tied to this VCO in terms of the pitch, okay, and they go down. And then you can set the level here, but then you've also got these two. Basically, it's very complicated, and it would almost like take a very special mind to really be able to twist this knob here and understand exactly what was what was going to happen. It's not going to happen for many years. Yeah, and I've been trained musically for many years. It's not going to happen that I'm going to understand exactly, because the relationships, it's all interconnected, and the relationships are so that it just. How are you going to know what happens? I remember reading, there was some comments, and someone was saying, I think the approach I'm going to take is I'm just going to spend a long, long time learning how all of these relationships work so that I can make this thing happen. And I'm like, that's not what this is for. You press play, something comes out, and then you find something, you discover something in the sound that it's making. Right? It's almost like you create the conditions where you can find something. It's literally discovery. And what I think I might do, actually, if I can find one, so I might actually just play you a quick video of, and this was something I did, I think it was on a weekend, I can't remember anyway, but I was in my pajamas. So excuse the pajamas. It doesn't really look like pajamas, so I'll be okay. Nothing to be afraid of. And let me see if I can find this video for you. And I will show it. Look like you will see literally discovery in action. Hang on a minute. Where's it gone? I think it's this. Let's move that out of the way. Yep. All right, I'm going to. I'll put this over here. So this is live me over here, and this is the video. So I'm just going to play the video from about 36 minutes. Let's see if you can hear this. No sound. Uh-oh. Oh, here we go, I know. Right. So I've never played a video within Ecamm Live before, so here we go. So I was just doing this on my, just playing around on my own, and I was just recording a little album. And you'll hear, when I start, I'm just in the middle of this bit where I don't know what's happening. I'm just kind of, it's just like I'm not lost. Lost is the wrong word, because it's not like I'm lost in a bad way. I'm intentionally lost, and I'm literally in pure discovery. And you'll watch what happens. It takes a while as well. This is longer than it usually takes, but just hear what happens. See there in my pajamas. So this is just the end of the previous bit where I had actually found something. So now we're going into something else. So right now I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just twiddling knobs here. You can see I'm twiddling knobs over here, and I haven't yet turned them up. So I don't know what's about to come out of the speakers. So now I'm playing, I'm just playing with the frequency knob. Now just randomly twisting the sequencer knobs to see what comes out. So what's important to bear in mind here is that I'm not getting frustrated by something not happening. Yeah? I'm just going forward, trying stuff. At some point I will move my head out of the way, but bear in mind I wasn't doing this for public consumption. Alright, I'm starting to hear something. Bear in mind, right, at this point, I'm not thinking of anything. I'm not, there's a difference between walking along a road and noticing something that is there, right? And walking along that road looking for something specific. There is a difference between those two things. Walking along a road and looking for something specific is not discovery in the sense that I'm talking about here. That's chasing something. Discovery is walking along a road and noticing something that is already there or that appears. Okay, so this is, you'll see it happen, or you'll hear it happen. I'm now playing with the DFAM knob. Sorry about my head being in the way. Yeah, the DFAM frequency knob. Now, I distinctly remember at this point thinking, oh, there's something here. But I remember also thinking, I think I've already done a load of things that sound, oh dear, I've lost my place. I've already done a load of things that sound like that, all right? So I was like, oh, I'll just try, let's see what happens when I go further into discovery, right? So I purposely mess up the thing that was nearly happening. So there, with that bass note changing, yeah, on the DFAM, and trying to, I was like, obviously looking for another relationship, another tonal center, right? So it was already somewhere, and I'm going somewhere else. I'm like, I've already done this a few times. Let's try something else, okay? So I'm purposely destroying what is there already. I'm encouraging further discovery, right? And there is going to be a payoff here. Just wait. All right, at that point, right then, I was like, oh, what's that? I just got a hint of something. I just noticed something that wasn't there before. I'm trying to get to the right place. Yeah, sorry, I keep on clicking the thing and missing one. And there we go. Now watch my reaction. There we go. So there I'm just playing with the rhythm of that the DFAM is playing, so to get a more interesting rhythm over the top, because the chords are suggesting something to me. So at that point I heard something in what I was doing, and then I actually made that happen. So that was a slightly different thing. So I kind of, this thing had appeared out of nowhere, and then I was like, okay, so that's what I made happen on the DFAM there, by playing with the velocity. You can see I'm really enjoying this right now, at this point. And do you know why? Why I'm finding it so enjoyable is because I didn't think of it. It just happened. Yeah, I didn't go, right, I needed a chord progression that goes. I couldn't even tell you what the chord progression is. I've got no idea. I mean, I roughly know. I know it's in a major key and whatever else. So I can tell you that, but I didn't go, oh guys, I've got a really good idea. It's like it just sort of boop, appeared, and that I can't tell you what a rush that gives me when that happens, which happens all the time when you use these machines like this. You're into pure discovery, right? And you can tell that I really enjoy it because I go on a bit of a cheese out, and I wouldn't usually do this so much in public, because this was while I was in pajamas and I was just recording it just to I was recording it privately. Right, so there you can basically see that purely came about as discovery, from discovery. I didn't think of it, I didn't plan it. In fact, if we go back to where it came from, it was a mess. It wasn't anything. This is the reason, like what you just saw there, that never would have happened. And I'm not saying you might like it, you might hate it, it doesn't matter. I liked it, I enjoyed it, right? So that would not have happened had I not allowed it to be bad, had I not destroyed what it was, had I not engaged in willful destruction, right? Of just going, right, like let's get rid of it. Now let's get rid of it and see what else I can notice on this journey. Claire made a great point here. You have to dive in and find out what comes up. Over time, you get the sense and intuition for shaping the sound more predictably. Now, yes, I think that is like the first part of it. You have to dive in and find out what comes up, without a shadow of a doubt. I agree that over time, you may well get better, one may well get better at knowing what is going to happen when you do X, Y, or Z. However, there is a danger in that, and it's the curse of mastery, it's the curse of knowledge, is that you lose that sense of discovery. It's like beginner's mind. It's the same thing as beginner's mind. Going into the creative process, not knowing, not really understanding what's going to happen. There is something magical to that. There's something so vital about it. I see my little boys building Lego sometimes, and sometimes they're chasing something, and they get incredibly frustrated in that situation. And there is a value to actually creating something specific. I'm not saying there's no value to it. But then on other occasions, they're just creating, just freely creating, and that's often when they do their best work. And both things are available to us. One I call design, and the other I call discovery. Now, design, that's not confused with sound design or that kind of thing. But these are two complementary approaches that we want to use. But the reason I wanted to show you that little excerpt of me just on my own, playing around, is that it's a really, really good example of what I mean when I say discovery. You just don't have any plan. Pure discovery. You don't have any plan. You just move forward into the creative process without any plan at all, just doing what happens. And hang on, let's see if I can get rid of this video. How do I do that? Let's go to go. Oh dear. Not sure how to do this. No. Oh, let's just go back to that. Yeah, without any plan of how to do, what it is you're doing, or why, even sometimes you're doing it. You're just simply seeing what comes up and listening. That's the important thing. The great thing about discovery, which is the problem with design, is that it forces you to listen to what is literally coming out of the speakers at that moment, rather than obsessing what is in your head at that moment. Yeah, because if you obsess about the ideas that you've got in your head in any given moment, often you won't actually hear clearly what's coming out of the speakers. So, really, these, I really wish I knew how to clear this thing. Hang on. Let's try that. No. How do I get rid of the any ideas, anybody? Oh, hang on, there we go. There we go. Phew! Yeah, so when, what was I saying? When you don't have any ideas about what to do, this is the other great thing about discovery. When you don't have any ideas about what to do, that is, in a sense, one of the most creative situations you can be in. You don't have to have an idea, right? All you need is to be in the moment and listen, because there's always an idea. Like there was just a van that drove past. If I was being creative, I could listen to that, and that could inspire me to make something. Just that sound. Yeah? Anything can inspire you to make something if you are creative enough. We say that we're, creative, us musicians, but so often we're not, are we? Because we think we need to have this amazing idea. We don't. So that is what this is why I have so taken to these specific machines, the Subharmonicon and the DFAM, because put together, they are like the ultimate discovery situation that I've ever come across in music, aside from when I used to play free jazz, because that's another example of kind of the discovery mindset in action, which is just like you play kind of anything, you just see what happens. You play with other people. And one of the things, this is the kind of the point of Zentaur, the project, is for me and these machines to be in a band together where we are essentially, they're coming up with stuff, and then I'm sort of go, oh, now this, yeah, and playing along. Now, one of the problems, so this is these two things, discovery and saying that I'm making albums at the same time, there's a tension there, Because as I said, the reason I'm saying I'm making albums rather than just doing live jams is that I have a goal for those albums eventually to be as good as, musically, anything that anybody could make by, by working, by sort of assembling their albums and recording them carefully and all that kind of stuff. Now, the difficulty, if with that using the discovery, pure discovery, because we all use discovery in our creative process anyway. It's just, I'm almost like going militantly into discovery with this. And the problem is that if I want to make music if I want to make albums which are as good as, say, I don't know, think of a great album. I can't think of any now. I Love Supreme by John Coltrane, right? If I want to make album, that's probably a bad example because it's kind of what I'm talking about anyway. Where's my mind gone blank? Somebody give me the name of a great album. My mind's gone completely blank. And that was one of my favourite albums. Let's have a look on Spotify. I can't think of any right now. Isn't it? It's funny when I always remember in interviews when people used to ask me, so who are your influences? And I could never think of any in that moment. It was almost like I had to have a script. Yeah. All right, there we go. The Wall by Pink Floyd. All right, there you go. So, God, what was wrong with me? Okay, so let's just say that, yeah. So I want to be able to, in the moment, make music that sounds as good as Pink Floyd, The Wall. That's utterly ridiculous, isn't it, when you come to think of it? If I am going to, as part of what Zentaur is, what I'm doing here is be so militantly into discovery, there are going to have to be sections where I destroy creatively. I sort of, not creatively, I destroy the thing. So it's almost like it kind of falls apart. Yeah? It sort of just, you have this thing and then it falls apart and then out of it comes another thing, like a phoenix from the ashes. That kind of thing. How those two things are in opposition, right? Because there's going to be, that one was a particularly long one, which is why I showed it, the one I showed on video. How are you not going to lose people in that situation where you're intentionally ruining it in order to create something new? So I've had these thoughts going around in my head. Because one of the things I love about this kind of frame for my music, one of the things that gets me so excited about it is, what is music? Yeah, like what actually is music expressing more than anything else? I think there is an argument, in fact I made this argument in my Oxford entrance paper for my music degree. To get into Oxford I had to answer a question. I answered a question about what is music. And I think that there is an argument for saying that really at its most base level, what music is expressing is tension and release. Okay? It's essentially, that's what it is. It's all about tension and release. Like if you want to be really, really basic, get to the real nuts and bolts, this is what music is. It expresses uncertainty to certainty. Tension, release. Right? And what is the thing that we just saw me do there? There's this thing that isn't working. It's kind of going all over the place. It's out of key. It's like and then all of a sudden, and so you feel this build up in tension, and then all of a sudden, poof, this thing pops out of it, which is like, whoa, and there's this massive release. You could see it in there, because I knew no one was watching, and I didn't think I was going to play it to people, but anyway, because I knew no one was watching, I was just doing what I do. You could see I was just like, and I was like, oh yeah, I'm amazing, even though it's got nothing to do with me, it's just the machines, but oh yeah. So that is literally tension and release in action. It's almost like the most clear kind of expression of tension and release I can think of. So the question is, so there's something there. There's something that I want to do, that I want to do. But the problem is, if you create too much tension, right, then you might end up becoming impotent. So then what happens is you lose people, right? Because if you go through extended periods where nothing's happening, and it's all like, it's a mess and it's all over the place, are people going to stick around? Is it actually just going to become meaningless to people? How much tension can people take? And this is one of the problems that essentially I'm trying to solve now. Is that I know it's more than one. I have to find a way to make these albums which have these sections which just don't work, because I've destroyed what it was. Because, you know, if you've not heard any of them or not seen any of them, they're like, I don't know, half an hour to an hour long. And you get these like tunes interspersed with the bits in between. Yeah, that's basically how it works. So you get this kind of track, and then it kind of breaks down into this, woo, I don't know what this is. And then it kind of, another track appears. And you're just like, woo, and then it breaks down into this thing. And that's kind of how these albums are working. How do I make the transitions, and that's a word I hate for various different reasons, but how do I make the tension moments work for people so that they don't get lost at that point? I know what's going on, and I know something's going to appear that's going to be great, and it's going to sound even better because of what came before it. Because remember, the other thing that music is about is contrast. Yeah, and the fact that it wasn't working means there's this big relief, yeah, which increases the effect of it. So that's one of the problems that I have been attempting to solve. So I did some journaling around it, and one of the things that I realized would probably carry the music through was if it actually sounded better. So I put kind of that form of quality fairly low down my list of priorities when I'm producing music, not performing it live, which I'm doing now. I mean, I'm kind of producing, I want to be doing both at the same time. But at the moment, well, certainly in that, what I've been doing so far, it's like the Moogs were very unadulterated, just basically just going into there. I think there was just a bit of tape on it, just a bit of tape emulation. But I was like, well, maybe if they sounded amazing, or if I had some ability to add different effects and kind of crazy bits in the tension sections while I was finding something, then it would almost be like a signpost for people saying, okay, this is a bit where it's all being broken down, it's going a bit weird, but it's okay because something's coming soon. Yeah, it's almost like there'll be a musical sign, but they'll know that, okay, now we're into a creative destruction part. Okay, now the problem was with the way I was doing it before, because I was recording all of the stuff separately into Luna. The problem was, in order for people to be able to hear it on a live stream properly, I couldn't do very much. I mean, I didn't have the ability to mess around with effects and things like that. I just couldn't do it. So here's what I've been doing. In fact, before we do that, let me just show you what I've been doing on the Moogs as well, because that's what the name of this video is. Right, so because about the discovery part, right? So one of the ways, so when I was thinking about discovery, I've set myself certain rules and limitations in terms of how I'm using the Moogs, right? So you'll see this is the Mother 32, and it has a sequencer in it here. Now, I don't use this sequencer in the Mother 32 at the moment. In fact, what is playing the Mother 32 is, in this particular configuration, this lead here, which is coming from the trigger of the DFAM. So this red one is going into the gate of the Mother 32. So let's just see if I can actually get it playing. So that, yeah, so that, yeah, is essentially being played by this sequencer here. So that is the DFAM. Now you might wonder, well, what's the but this? You hear that? That is because I've got, what have I got? Can't even remember. Oh, that, yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember now. Yeah, so I've got the envelope of this going into the CV, the VCA CV of that. So it's basically creating a kind of accent-like thing, right? If you hear. So essentially, when the DFAM plays a doo, 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 yeah, that has an accent on it. And what I like about that, rather than using the sequencer here, is that you start to get this homogeneous sound. Everything's playing. It's like everything affects everything else. So if I go, let's do something very different. See? So that's the Model 32. If I change the DFAM down here, yep. So essentially, one of the things that I'm doing in order to play these together so it just works is everything is affecting everything else. Because the other thing is that I've got, in this particular configuration, right, let's go, right. So sequencer 1 out of the Subharmonicon is going into this, it's being split by a mult. So a mult is you put a lead in and then that splits the signal into two. Yeah. And then that is going to the VCO1 CV of this, which means, so let's just show you that, turn that down, turn you down. Okay. So let's just turn the attack down so you can see what's going on. Okay. Now every time that sequencer 1 plays, it will change the note of the DFAM. Because if I pulled this out, so I can actually get it playing the same note just by plugging that in there. Right, so again, we've got this band, so to speak, playing together. That's triggering, that's telling that to play certain notes, and this is telling that to kind of accent certain notes. So you can play around with these in lots and lots of different combinations. This is the joy of semi-modular stuff, is the relationships. Now, this is one of the dangers of modular and semi-modular as well, in that you can get lost down a rabbit hole. Because, again, and the reason I spent so much time talking about discovery is because that you start chasing an idea that you've got in your head. Yeah. So one of the big don'ts when you're playing with this kind of stuff, I think, anyway, what I've found is that when you've got something that is doing something, I mean, when I say got something, I mean, when you've got the conditions where something is happening that could create something good, you stop plugging and start twiddling. Right? You start just playing. You start actually playing it, rather than trying to find the combination. And then the other do is, once you've got a combination of this that works, you've got a patch that does something, you make as much music as possible using that rough, I mean, you can change little things here and there, but basically that rough configuration. You just go, I'm going to make as many ideas as possible, like record them, even perform them like I'm doing, make as many albums as possible using this configuration. You don't get lost in, oh, I need to find another patch, or I need to find another way of, like, just stick with that and use it for multiple different ways. Because that means that you make way more progress and you learn a lot more, and that you're in discovery. Because, like, really, there are infinite, even if I never ever do anything with these leads ever again and they stay in there. In fact, if I solder them into their holes, I mean, I don't know, it might actually stop them working, but let's just say I solder them into their holes, right? Yeah, I could make an entire, I don't know, 10 careers worth of music with that configuration. Yeah, anybody could. In fact, it's not just me. I'm not special. Anybody could. This is now a synthesizer. Yeah, this is a synthesizer that you have bought. And the danger with this is that you go into, it's not discovery, it's just you go into what ifs. Yeah, you never actually find anything. You're just constantly chasing something. And I've found this in myself, and it's one of the reasons that I've been performing these things and doing them live, is in order to avoid that happening. And I really haven't unplugged many of these. I haven't started again, for a long time. Okay, so if you go into semi-modular, and I know Claire has got the grandmother synth, just, I mean, maybe you've only got one piece, in which case it's slightly different. But if you start getting other bits, just stick with a configuration and just go deep into it as if it's a new bit of kit. Yeah? It's like the best piece of advice that I think I could ever give anyone who is in this situation, because you are in danger of just constantly changing things and never actually ending up creating anything, which has value in itself. It's fun, right? But it's like, if what you want to do is actually make music, then that's what to do. I mean, I've been essentially what I use the Mother 32 for. There's something else that I've figured out that you can do. Because also the other thing is, if you do that, if you go down the rabbit hole on the same configuration. So at the moment, bear in mind, I've got the trigger going into the gate. So all I'm getting ever is 16th on the Mother. Yeah. So I've already shown a variation on that. So just normal 16ths on the Mother is this. So let's just investigate the various different things that you can already do with the Mother based upon just using 16th notes. Okay, so let's think about the number of variations in that one thing. The Mother is going to play 16ths based upon what the DFAM says. Yeah. So we've got So we've got a, classic bass line, right? The kind of thing that we've heard a million times. Yeah? Well, one thing I can do is I can play with my, see down here. So I can make it straight. Yeah, so that's one variation. Sounds very different when you do that, right? The other thing I can do is I can change the mix. Well, I mean, I can change the sound, obviously. Yeah, and then I can change the mix. I can turn it into a hi-hat, obviously. right? So there, we've already got a number of different variations just using that. Yeah. As I said, we can add this so that the accent, just by plugging that in, so you can already hear tension and release going on. There's lots of things you can do to create that. Yeah, you can go back to the bass line. Yeah. What else? What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh yes, that was it. Right. So you know I said I wasn't using the sequencer. So at the moment this isn't playing. Yeah, it's literally just being played by the other instruments. Right. But listen to what happens if I just press play. Hang on, you probably can't hear. I'll just turn down the effect. So really what's happening is this is just playing one note at the start of the sequence when I'm pressing. Yeah. So that's nothing else playing. So it's totally out of time. Let's try it. I mean, you know, in electronic music, I've heard some tunes which are basically just someone doing that. so that, as you can see, limiting the number of things that you are doing with this portion of the machine, I think is absolutely essential. Yeah, shh, hush now. I mean, there's a bunch of other things you can do as well, but you get the idea essentially. Just saying to yourself, I'm going to set things up a certain way, and then I'm going to see what I can do with it is the biggest do. And the biggest don't is don't chase the thing, because you'll just end up forgetting what you're trying to do in the first place, and you just end up going round and round circles trying different things. Yeah, and some of the joy of the modular kind of environment is in that trying different things. And that is absolutely a part of it. So at some point I'm going to unplug this and try something different. But just make sure that you have extended periods of just, because this one, the one I just showed you where I think I accidentally pressed play or something while it was playing, and I was like, oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, that's a little variation right there. And it all goes a bit mental. But yeah, it was like, you know, I would never would have discovered that mistake, unless I'd have stuck with the same thing. So that's the patching part. I just wanted to show you the bit about how I'm attempting to get to the point of making this music sound as good as an actual album. You know, this whole thing that I'm going, which is like, right, I'm writing albums live. That's what I'm doing. I'm not jamming. I'm not doing live set. I'm not jamming a live set. Not that there's anything wrong with that, by the way. I absolutely love it. Right? But I want to make something that's as good as an actual album, which is why I'm calling it that. And I recognize they're not there yet. I have to say, actually, they're really good. The ones that I've done so far, they're really good for when you're working. There's something about the length and how they change, which it's like they're very, when you're, I don't know, doing some writing or that kind of work, or coding or something like that. Not that I do coding, but I've got a masterminder who's a coder, and he says they're absolutely great for him doing coding. So, is that they're really good for working too. But anyway. They're not there. They're not at the level I want them to be at. No, nowhere near. In fact, they probably will never be at that level. But one of the things that I realized that I needed to do to overcome these sections where it all kind of breaks down is if it sounded amazing, if it actually sounded amazing, it was like a kind of soundscape situation rather than this very dry sort of, we've just got the Moogs and, the Moogs, sorry, they've just got the Moogs and, if it sounded amazing, then it may well kind of carry people over these kind of creative destruction moments. So what I've started to do, and just started playing with this, and I've not done it in front of anybody yet, but is this. Ooh. What on earth is this? So this is a gig performer. And now I'm not a guitarist, right? So I've never heard of such a thing. And you can tell it's initially a guitar thing because of the, it's like a rock thing. Can you see down here, the app? In fact, I'll shut it down and start it up again. And actually, no, I won't do that because it might go nuts. Where does it say about? It's like you can see the branding on it. It's very kind of rock, right? Anyway, essentially this is like main stage or something like that, but it's just much more extendable. So essentially what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you, and we're going to get a bit technical, and I'm going to show you the chains that I'm using. I'm going to show you how I'm using or starting to use Gig Performer to basically make it sound like more finished, make the stuff sound more finished. Because ideally, what I'd love to be able to do eventually is literally write the album, to perform the album live, and then just put it into mastering, and that's it. Yeah, it's basically done. Okay, so essentially what we've got here is the Moogs going into a. Where are we? Whoops. The pre-mixer over here. So I'm not using that one. But here you can see Subharmonicon, DFAM, and Mother 32. There you go. It's a bit hot at the moment. Anyway, there you go. So that's the Subharmonicon coming in. So let's just go through what I've got this going through. So this is the chain. I've gone a bit to town on it, because the other thing you've got to watch out for is if you've got enough juice. But what I've found with what's it called? Like computer stuff, is a little bit of a lot of things actually tends to sound a lot better than a lot of a little. It never used to be that way. It used to be the other way around, actually. Before I kind of in my previous career, this was before kind of computers had got all the processing power. Used to be you didn't want to put too many plugins on because they progressively made it sound worse. Right, it's not like that anymore, right? So first thing I've got to, in fact, let's bypass the thing so you can hear the difference. Now, to anybody who's been in my my coaching world, what I'm doing now is so unusual for me. It's actually going into the exact things I'm doing and the exact, the technical stuff that I'm doing. And the reason for that is that I don't think it's the most important thing. But as I'm, as I'm doing this, I just want to give you a full picture of exactly how I'm thinking about it and why I'm doing it. Now, bearing in mind, I'm taking exactly the same approach as I just spoke to you about the Moogs. I spent about half an hour making this chain, and it was based upon stuff that I'd done in the past, making this change, and I've just left it. I'm just leaving it like that for a while until something, I think, actually, I could do this and it would improve it, right? So again, I'm starting somewhere and I'm just leaving it. I'm just working with what there is rather than constantly changing it. So this is the Moog, this is the DFAM, and I won't do this with all of the with all of them. I'll just do it with the DFAM just to show you how I'm thinking about it. Right, so this is the DFAM without any of that stuff. Right, sounds pretty good, right? But it's a bit woo-y, isn't it? Right, so I've got a Neve 1073 emulation on there, just cutting off a little bit of the low there, giving it a bit of in the 110 range and a bit of in the 1.6 there. It's just taking a little bit of woofiness off, yeah. And there is nothing better in life. Well, I think there probably are a few things better in life, but one of the best things I feel in life are Moogs through saturation. I mean, they actually create saturation themselves, and so I've decided to put this on it. The Culture Vulture. That's without and with. Yeah, see if we can just. So it just warms it up a bit, basically, right? Then we've got a bit of the old, this is one of my favorite compressors, the Distressor. I've never had a real one. I've only had the emulation, but I really like this one. And by the way, these are all UAD ones, so. Do a bit of gain staging on that, actually. I don't know why that was. Let's just do it now. It just gives it a bit of snap on there. Yep. That's without. That's with. It also just kind of brings it forward a bit. Yep. So that's the Distressor, and then a little bit more saturation. This is one of my favorites too. This thing, the Vertigo VSM3, and let's just have a listen without. And I was surprising about I was quite surprised to hear that there was such a big change in volume when I put that Distressor on, because I thought I'd sorted that out. But there you go, shows you what you miss. Anyway, so. That's with. That's without. With. Kind of makes it a bit more, I don't know, it's sort of like, if we could just solo what it's actually doing here, so because we can do that on this plugin here, you'll hear it. So that's one of the crushers, and this is the other one. Yeah, and this is them both together. Yeah, and then with the original signal. So we're up to here. We've still got 2 more to go. So the next thing I decided to do was just kind of rein in the bottom end a little, and just tilt it slightly that way, so it's just a bit less kind of boomy, to give it, like, just bring it in a bit. So I use this. I absolutely love these guys plugins, Good Hertz, for this kind of thing. So let's just check it. So this is without at the moment. I'm going to put it on now. So really what, I mean, it's kind of like a low cut, but it sort of tilts it. I mean, I have actually put a low cut on it here. So if we listen to the bit that I've... That's the bit I'm cutting out. So actually what I'll do, so it was on 83. Right. Let's just listen to the tilt part for now, okay? Do you hear that? It just kind of takes that low end off really gently. It's doing this. Yeah. Yeah. I'll turn it off here. Just makes it a bit more present, a little less like that. And I've also added this filter on slightly because it's still a bit, you know, destroying of everything. And then what I just tend to do in general, if I've done some EQing, is I put some kind of compressor at the end. And what better than the SSL bus? So let's have a listen. In fact, I'll do it with the in. This was out. Staging problem there, but I'll have to sort that out later. So you can see that basically this is the way it sounds. Let's see if I can just. I wish there was an easy way. Maybe there is, but I don't know. I'm only starting to use this. I wish there was an easy way of bypassing all these at the same time. Probably not going to be able to give you much of an idea, but let's just have to try and remember. This. Where are you, distressor? There you go. So this is without the chain. And this is with. Oops. Damn it. Sorry. This is with. So essentially making it less problematic. Because the thing is about, you know, these particular discovery machines is they've got a lot of dynamic range, and then they can go particularly crazy. I'm gonna have to sort that out again when I've finished. Anyway, so because listen, like. Because when you've got that going without the stuff that I've put on it, it can just get really out of hand fast. So basically that's one of the ways that I'm using this. And this is essentially, I mean, I don't think it is 0 latency. It would probably be impossible, but it's very low. I mean, I can't notice the latency with all of these things on here using this gig performer. And even if I could, it kind of doesn't matter because I'm actually playing along to whatever comes out of this end with these things over here. So I've obviously got my piano. Hang on a minute. There we go. Where are you? There you go. Oh, you can't see that. Hang on. There we go. Got my piano over here. And what this allows me to do, so I've got it going into a string, but I've also got it going to a reverb send over here. Yeah, so I've got both the strings and the piano going to a reverb send, which is a Lexicon 224 down here. What it means is I've now got, because you can set it in Gig Performer, I think it's that. So that this knob here, I can't show you the knob, but this turns that up and down. You see that going up and down there? So that I can turn So now I've got the ability to change the effect level while I'm playing the piano and also the strings. So again, more variation, more ability to change things and make things a bit more interesting in those moments when things go all over the place. Yeah. So then also the other thing that I've got going on is, hey DJ Nubium. The other thing I've got going on is, and I only just set this up yesterday, is like a delay. So let's get the Subharmonicon playing. Let's see if I can. Oh, hello, Doug. It's Doug, otherwise known as DJ Nubium. Hang on, let's get a wide. Is that better? I don't know. I don't usually show this part, so that's why it's a bit all over the place. Okay, so let's move you over here like this. Right. So I've got my Machina Mark III, which I'm just using as a fancy MIDI controller now, set to various things on here. So can you see, that's the ribbon on the Machina Mark III. And doing that. So, no, what I'm doing. Oh yes, no, it's not. It's this. So essentially I can just play with the effects. And obviously I can do that in lots of different ways. So I can turn this one off. And play with Supermassive instead. Make it huge. So you can go shh, calm down. So as you see, by using this Gig Performer thing, I'm now able to, like, I've got a lot more control over other things aside from just what I'm doing with the Moogs. Now, and also, you know, what I'm playing on the piano. Now, the difficulty that I have at the moment with this, obviously, is that it's all new, and I'm having to remember lots of things and figure out, you know, things that I can do. And if you're not careful, you're in danger of, again, like the leads on the Moogs, you're in danger, massive danger about going down enormous rabbit holes, you know, all the time, about all the different things that you could do. And that's something that you really got to watch out for, because I've kind of got it set up now where I can play with the level on the piano of the reverb here, that lexicon. I can play with elements of the delay unit here. I can play with elements of the supermassive unit. I can also play with the level of the capital chambers. Here, over here, you can see things that other things that I'm taking a look at as well. I don't think I'm going to use them now, actually. But essentially, what I need to do now is play with this as I have it, right, without doing too much else. Otherwise, I'm going to end up doing exactly the same thing as I was warning against with the modular stuff, which is like constantly plugging new things in. Because really, the problem that I am attempting to solve is, how do I make those parts of the albums where I kind of break down what it is, I kind of destroy what it is, how do I make them into something that is that kind of holds people's attention, doesn't lose people, and I think effects is one way to do it, but also it sounding really good, yeah, and not so sort of raw is another way as well. And I mean, something else, I mean, there's so many opportunities here for me to keep kind of making this better. One way is by using loopers, by actually using software loopers in here. I mean, there's just so many different options, but at this point, this is kind of where I'm at, and I'm going to do a few performances, probably at least another week of live streams, just using pretty much this, so that I can kind of get my head around it and find those little things that I don't know about yet. But I think a really important element of it is actually really doing it. So it's not just that I'm exploring without completing something. So I'm going to be releasing another album today. It's actually one of my favorites. It's called Optimal Stopping, and it's like I really enjoyed doing that one. And so I'm going to release one of those today. I'm going to release another one next week, and I'm doing that in the context of knowing that I'm nowhere near where I want to be. So it's like, it's not, you know, I think for a lot of people who kind of think about themselves as being the finished article, they want to get to the point of being a finished article. That's not how I'm thinking about what I'm putting out. What I'm putting out is the journey. It is the process of me getting better. Of Zentaur getting better, of what Zentaur is turning into whatever it ends up being. And I don't know where that is. It's going to be an ongoing, process of discovery, as I keep saying. But based upon what I've already put out, I think the act of actually putting it out, the act of actually getting things to the finish line, mixing them, mastering them, and then putting them out is part of the process of knowing what it is that you are doing, what it is that you want to be doing, where you're going. So I've been rabbiting on for almost an hour and a half now, and this is after like 3 hours of rabbiting on the Leap call as well. So I'm going to call a halt to this, and probably going to play a bit of music now. I don't know whether I'll do it live or not. I might actually do that. I might as well, but it'll be on another stream. So I hope you found this useful, and I will do another update. No, maybe in a couple of weeks. or something, or maybe in a week. I've got lots of ideas about, you know, building the audience, promoting the music, and all of that kind of thing, which I've obviously not had a chance to get into today. Really, we're focused on the nitty gritty of how I'm actually doing what I'm doing, and how I'm thinking about it. Hope you found it valuable. So until next time, keep making music and onwards and upwards.